Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes as people are coming in so that we can make sure everybody gets in time. Where's everybody dialing in from? Anybody coming in off of their PTO to talk with Mark and I today? Mark, where are you based again?
In Kromwoord. It's close to Den Bosch. So
Okay.
for the international people or the international audience, I don't think they all know where it is, but it's in the south of the Netherlands.
Okay. Great. Hi, Jane. I'm based in Spain. So I usually try to keep that to myself if there's bad weather when I'm talking to people in Amsterdam or the UK.
Hmm,
Yeah, we have someone from Belgium, from Utrecht,
Utrecht.
Surrey Hills, UK, sunny, very good. Dublin, fantastic. Another from Utrecht. I'm a big fan of Utrecht. When our headquarters was there, we went there quite a bit.
Hmm,
Yeah, I loved that.
it was nice.
Amsterdam, yeah, great. Fantastic. We have very international audience today.
Cool. Nice.
Um, I think I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Just for those of you who don't know me, I'm Heather Melton. I work in go-to-market here at Altura. So nice to see some of you again, and hello to the new ones. And thanks for joining us today, and also the people that are going to watch on replay. I'm super excited about the topic today. It's something that I've been hearing a lot about when I've been talking to different people. So it's great to have Mark here with us. Mark has over 14 years of experience in winning tenders and building high performing bid and sales strategies, both nationally and internationally. So that's great for our international market here. He set up global and bid proposal center. He set up the global bid and proposal center at cm.com. And today he helps organizations gain control over their sales and tender processes. And he does that using strategy, data, process, and technology. And I'm thrilled to have him here today to share his insights. If there's anything too you want to add to that, Mark?
It's totally clear, Heather. Thank you very much, and happy to be here as well. And it's been a while that I've been at Altura's platform, so that's nice. Last time it was in Utrecht. I want to say Italy. I don't know why, but it was Utrecht.
We
It was
can
about data
dream.
management. Yeah, we can dream. We will dream. So now happy to be here and to talk about capture, an exciting subject in my opinion. And yeah, let's see.
Yeah, great. Okay. Everyone, just before Mark jumps in and starts talking to us about capture and pre-bid, could you also, I'm sorry, I'm asking you another question for the
Go
chat,
ahead.
full of questions. So how early do you usually get involved in the sales cycle? Is it before or after the RFP or the bid or whatever drops or lands? How early do you get involved, before or after you receive that RFP or bid? People are still answering where they are. So we'll just okay. So most people are saying, so it's coming in. A couple of people before, some after are saying. Alwyn. Alwyn says both. Love that. He's hedging his bets. Um, so that's good. During and after, before, yeah. Yorit says after too.
Mm.
Love this one. Frederick, before or just in time.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
great. I love that. Um, Wouter is saying way before, if the process is followed. Okay, there's a little caveat there, I think.
Yeah, the question
Um,
would be how often is the process followed? But
yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, Yeah, we have before, another one too here. Great. After publication from Richard.
sorry, Richard.
Um, Got to follow up? Mostly. He says mostly it's followed. So that's good. Great. Okay. Thanks for that, guys. Okay, Mark. So what can we do? Should I pull up our slides for us?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So today it's all about capture and practice and how to build your motion, including sales, marketing, and bid. And capture is not really new, in my opinion, but marketing could be new in this
Mm.
topic. What I find always very interesting is to talk a bit about capture, because capture, in my opinion, is not really the, the well the relevant word, because capture says something about getting the client in,
Mm.
and for me it's more or less like, let's see how we can help each other, right? So what are your needs, what are my needs, and can we agree upon something in which we create a long-term relationship? And capture always feels, for me at least, a bit like, I want to get you in. You know what I mean, Heather? With my fishing
Yeah.
pole, like
Like you have
throwing
a
it out,
net
let's
or
go.
something. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So capture, but it's very, in my opinion, very theoretical. From what I see and experience these days, it's like what to do and how to make sure that we are early engaged with the client. And in the in my experience, lots of companies are not really capable of doing it the right way. So how is it possible? And that would be maybe a question. Do you recognize that as well in your organization? So the question for the audience in this case, do you recognize that as well in your organization? And how is it possible that it's this hard to capture clients at the right time? So very curious if someone would like to respond on that question as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you saying you think if it's not set up properly, it makes it impossible to do? Kind of like what Wouter was saying as well. And is that what you're asking too, Mark?
Of course, there are a lot of, like, say, trainings about capture. And from a theoretical perspective, it's great that we do those kind of trainings. But how is it possible that it's still that hard to execute it in practice? So why is it possible that organizations have like, well, a bit of a pain to execute it the
Hmm.
right way? And because in my opinion, I see many organizations struggle with this kind of topics. So, but I don't know if the audience does
Yeah.
agree with me on that one.
What do you think, guys? Do you think that it's difficult? Do you have a hard time with capture in your organization? Um, is it something that you're working on, or is it something maybe, I don't know, is it because it's that part is usually owned outside of the bid team maybe, or, what do you think? George is asking, is capture very much relationship dependent?
Good question.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
anyone else? Oh, just so you know, anyone, if you don't feel like putting it in the chat and you just want to send it to me too, here's my LinkedIn, and you can always just connect with me quickly and send me the message. If you're feeling shy, that's fine. Okay. Um, so we have depends on how well we know the client, consultant, and team. So that's where they're saying their pain is there.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
And Jane, I find difficulties come from a lack of regular contact with the client. So there is limited opportunity to find out what is in the pipeline.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's continue with the slides, and we'll see. I think we will capture the questions and the
I
reactions.
see
Yeah.
what you did. I see what you did there,
Hmm.
Mark.
So this is obvious. I think we already discussed this one, Heather. Um,
Hmm.
so 14 years
Yeah.
of experience. I set up different organizations or bid and proposal organizations, and indeed I won tenders in 16 countries, and that's
16 countries.
yeah,
You
that's nice.
underachiever.
Mm.
Yeah.
So let's
Okay.
continue to the next one. Yeah, and actually, this is what, in my opinion, capture is. Tenders aren't won on paper, but in the preparation phase. And I saw several comments already, and the question was, is it all about relationship? In my opinion, it is. And when AI is there as well, it will be more and more about relationships. I think there's not a difference between buying something via a regular proposal, to be honest, and buying something via tender. And that's what I find always very interesting, is that people say, okay, it's just a tender, so let's wait before for the publication, and then we will see if we can win. But in my opinion, people buy from people. That's something I really often um, express, to be honest. And
Mm.
these days with AI, I find it very interesting and very relevant to make sure that the relationship is on top of mind. So it's in the preparation phase. That's why capture works. And that's why I added marketing to this subject as well, because normally you see people always discussing, okay, sales and tenders, forecast, forecast, forecast. And yes, that's at the basis, but make sure that you really you really know what the client needs are, and make sure to also be visible on, for example, LinkedIn. I have a small company myself. I work by myself, so but I always publish a lot on LinkedIn, try 3 times a week, with information I find very relevant, based on experience, based on 14 years of experience, based on what I've done for my clients, and based on that information, people reach out to me. For example, Altura, but also other tech companies, but also people who are talking about investment in tender platforms or others, all these kind of things. So that's with a reason, to be honest. And a lot of corporate organizations these days are just pushing information which are relevant in their opinion, based on specs, to be honest. And I think we should definitely go to the added value perspective, and that would be very nice if we can um, push it in a very early stage into the market, because it's like the psychological game these days, and not really about the, now let's say, facts, because ChatGPT knows a lot more than I do. Don't know about you, Heather, but I do think it knows it knows more than you as well. But so it's
I don't
all
even
in
know what that's
details
supposed
these
to
days.
mean.
Nothing specifically, sorry.
Yeah.
So therefore capture works prior to the publication, and marketing is added by me.
Mm, great.
Next slide. Do we have a question maybe for the audience?
Yeah, no, not at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can, yeah, I have some more later on to ask them.
All right. If we talk about capture and if we talk about strategy, um, a lot of organizations do not have a strategy, sales strategy. I'm talking about these days. Um, Sales strategy, in my opinion, is all about getting into the right segment, getting to the right clients, or the and get to the right opportunities for those clients. If you combine these information, you know which companies you have to reach out to, and then you can start with influencing. And it's nothing different than we did, I think, 10 years ago. The only thing what changed is that you can very easily use marketing and use outreach automatically or whatever, and that's something you can use to capture these clients with your fishing pole, and to make sure that they, in a very early stage, um, see you as the preferred supplier. And um, and in the end, we have the preparation, of course, by selecting the right opportunities. So that's something I would like to mention. You win it by using your strategy or creating a strategy very early, together with your C level, your CCO. Make sure you influence the right stakeholders on time, not 2 weeks prior to publication, but start 2 years, for example, prior to publication, but do that based on a segment strategy. For example, we would like government, we would like education, we would like healthcare, and don't try to win them all. Just be specific. Try to be a niche player in these cases.
Frederick mentioned too that selecting is often the important but hard task. You want to win them all. And I've heard a lot of people talk about that, and it comes in their qualification, doesn't it? And how they do bid, no bid, and what sectors they're going after.
Yeah, you have to be very realistic on this point, to be honest. You can't win them all because if, besides the fact that you might be the only competitor, but then you have, yeah, that's a luxury position, to be honest, to be in. You can't win them all, but you have to be very specific in which cases you are the winner and in which cases you are the go-to party. So you want to win them all, of course. We would like to win them all, but if everyone wants to win them all, it's impossible. So make sure in your preparation, and therefore I mentioned as well the niche, Yeah, well, try to be a niche player. Qualification is very important, but qualification is normally after publication, but strategy is more important. So you want your management, your C-level to create this strategy for you, together with you, to make sure that they subscribe to tenders which are not easy to win, but which you can win, instead of like try to win them all, because it's impossible.
Yeah, it's important to get the C-suite on your side as well, because, you're putting a lot of resources into something maybe 2 years out, and, it's not a given that you're going to win. So they have to like really believe in the strategy, from what I've been told, or else, it may not work once, and then they're like, "Oh, we spent all this time and resources on this and now we didn't get it." It's like it's a process, it's something that you have to implement.
Yeah, and your marketing, and therefore I mention marketing again, should cooperate as well. If you use, for example, account-based marketing principles, I talked to Talia yesterday about it as well. It's so relevant to make sure that you also, from your perspective, that you know which clients you would like to add to your organization. So, of course, we would like the most of all, but you should differentiate in, these are really the clients I want, from with a specific perspective or whatever, and these are the clients that are nice to have. But what you mentioned, Heather, is very important. C-level, yeah, needs to be on your page as well.
We have a question for you. Simon said some customers are clever and know when you're trying to influence them, i.e., they can be skeptical. How do you approach this scenario?
Customer centricity is very important in this case, but never try to influence them directly. So yes, they might be skeptical. I can imagine that, but it's about the small psychological aspects on these cases. I'm not pushing, for example, I'm not reaching out towards one specific person, for example. It's more or less that I just be the authority. So you want to be the authority as an organization in the market. For example, if you are very good at, let's say, sustainability, I don't know, it's just a regular subject. If you are very good at sustainability and you are targeting education, then you do your investigation of how relevant sustainability is in the educational sector. If you know that, you can easily push specific, for example, LinkedIn messages into the market, which are positioning you as an organization or you as a person um, um, related to the subject of sustainability in the education sector. So it's not a direct approach, it's more or less an indirect approach to be more on top of mind. So that's very important. But I like the question, because most of the people, of course, when we do sales, we reach out one on one, but this is one too many. But it's very specific in the sector, and it's very specific as very specific topic. So you really have to do an in-dive research, deep research with ChatGPT, for example, how relevant some topics are in specific sectors. But that's why marketing is that relevant as well, and combine the information of marketing with you as a client. Sorry, as a salesperson, combine this information, and you have very valuable information to put into the market.
Yeah,
So I like the
great.
question. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, I do too. You have another one. This is, I think people are really kind of like thinking about like strategy and influence, and how do you measure the difference between informing and influencing the prospect and client?
Yeah, of course, that's a like a definition question. I think
Mm,
it's how do they feel it. So if you are the go-to, if you are um, the like the champion about a specific subject, um, don't try to make it too personal. Just make sure that you are the go-to party for the specific subject. Um, and to be honest, and that's why we mentioned 24 months as well, it takes a while to be top of mind at your specific client. So don't try to influence them. Influencing
mm,
is more or less, in my opinion, is like very short term, but just inform them for several months, maybe few years, and they will make sure that, and it I'm sure that they will look at you if the problem they have is addressed by you in some of the earlier um, posts.
mm. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead
Yeah.
and move on. We got we'll get stuck on this slide the whole time.
Mm. Let's go. The four pillars of effective capture. Yeah, I think we mentioned this as well a bit about the strategy part, but for me and what I did at cm.com as well, there are three pillars besides the strategy, because strategy is very hard sometimes to influence, because you that's really a managerial point. But process, data, and technology, when I was responsible for the team at cm.com, process was my basis, data came after, and technology was the supporting part. So what I mentioned in this slide as well, as soon as you get your strategy in right, and you agree together with your management that that's the focus point for the coming years, then you should definitely go to the process, data, and technology. Process is nothing different than what I most of the audience should be bid management, I guess. So I think most of the people know the relevance of a good process. Go step by step to make sure you have high quality proposals, and to make sure that you win the deal. So data is very important to get the information back to your C level, to make sure that the valuable information is going there as well, to show them that the strategy we mentioned is the right way, so you can fix it over there. And of course, tools and technology, very important to make sure that you have an enabler and a very effective and efficient way of getting the proposals out. And that's, in my opinion, technology is broadened. Of course, you can use it for a proposal, you can use it for research, you can use it for everything these days. So that's definitely very important in capture, but in my opinion, at the latest phase.
Once you have all your ducks in a row first, you know what you want to do. I guess too that if you have a lot of data that you're wanting to look at, that tools can help you consolidate that so that you can actually get your insights from it and then build.
Mm.
Sometimes you need that to build a strategy. So yeah, maybe a little bit that way too.
Yeah, you have to prove that your strategy is the right one,
Mm,
and data is of course very important for technology as well, because no structured data means no structured output. So
mm,
therefore, but it's not really a capture thing. It's more or less the output problem. So Yeah, very important. Next slide.
Yep. One thing just here before we jump into this, everyone, what's one signal you use to spot a potential upcoming tender? Do you I mean, for example, like a policy change, or you see a budget approval, a vendor shakeup, or what are some of the potential things that use to spot the upcoming tender when you're working on capture? Are those secrets? People like, I'm not giving that away. So we have end date of contract.
Good one.
Yep. Anyone else? Okay, if somebody jumps in, I'll put them up there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the one Wouter mentioned is also very nice, because capture is not an extension of bid management, and it's indeed about strategic choice and stop being reactive. And one of the things Wouter mentioned was the end date of the contract, and that could be a very nice starting point to get capture going. So I really like the fact that he brought it up.
Yeah. Let's see. It says old technology. Jane says in the legal sector, a lot of contracts run for 2, 3, or 4 years, so it's possible to build that pipeline out that way.
Mm.
Frederick says it depends if it's a new or a current customer. How do you tell the difference, Frederick? If you could pop that in, like, is it a different process for you depending? We have business development, keeping in touch with the network. A lost tender from Petra. Most customers have a cycle for tender specific services or the like. Klaus. Very good. Okay.
Yeah, nice.
I think that's it for
Great.
now. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next slide there, because I
Okay.
think we mentioned a lot about this already. Yeah, and sorry, but I'm like going all over the place because we mentioned marketing, of course, as well, and it's essential in capture. And yeah, it speaks for themselves. To be honest, you can't win if you're unknown in these times with upcoming AI, and everyone is out there, and you should definitely join the mass in publishing. I think only 3%, so it's not really the mass. I think only 3% of the users on LinkedIn are active. So that does mean that there's still 97% that is not publishing regularly. So that could be, in this early stage, very interesting to investigate for you as an organization. And then don't publish via the company page, but publish via your personal page, because that's better for the reach. But try to investigate for your organization what the rules and regulations, let's say, are to reach out to other people. It would be very nice. Pre-tender marketing, setting the agenda, become visible, building trust, and marketing is relationship management at scale. Yeah, spot on, I guess. So I don't know what
Yeah.
to add, to be honest, because I already mentioned a lot. Heather, do you have any experience with
Yeah.
marketing and capture from an Altura perspective, for example?
Well, when you were talking about marketing, I think it's so layered, because one is just like I post all the time as an
Mm.
individual on LinkedIn, and I work at Altura, and I talk about things in the market, but also specific to Altura as well. And then there, of course, the marketing team also puts out ads for things that they think people will be interested in. So it's kind of that direct, this is a person saying this is that. And then there's also the company that gives like an overview. And I think that's a layering technique that you mentioned to Leah that she's really done well here at
Yeah.
Altura, and she's done a great job with. One thing I don't know people know about too is I don't know if you know, you can see your social selling index on LinkedIn, and it doesn't give you the specific how you are against, like the specific competitors you're looking against, but it does show you what percentage how you sit in the market compared to other people that are in your industry. And that's
Mm,
always could be interesting to see.
yeah.
I'll try to find that and pop that in. If not, we're going to send you an email later with the link to the recording. So
Mm,
I'll pass that over so you can get that, because that's always fun to look at.
yeah. Yeah. So if we're talking about capture again, we have sales and tenders, and that's traditionally the combination that does it. And it's impossible. Well, let's say not impossible, but in my opinion, relevant to agile marketing as well. So there you see where sales was very big in the past. We see tender management is upcoming because we see, at least in the Netherlands, we see government organizations increasingly using tenders, but also private organizations use tenders a lot. So we see that tender management is growing. Um, Marketing is growing as well. So in my opinion, marketing should be as big as sales in numbers of people,
Mhm.
because these days it's a lot about marketing. So make sure to be on the train, let's say, and move forward with marketing.
Yeah. I have two questions about this. It's actually, one was sent in to me, and then Cherry May as
Mm.
well here. What would be the one marketing strategy you would prioritize for a small business with no marketing department, working with 80% public bodies versus private? And just on that one as well, I'd gotten one is capture something that works in the public sector, or is it more suited to the commercial bids? So on both levels, like people are asking about that a little bit.
Yeah, lovely questions. I get them a lot.
Mhm.
People work uh, at both public and private organizations, right? So we always have to deal with people. Um, People buy from people, so influence the right or inform the right people. If you are on the right track, let's say, with the information you're pushing into the market, then I'm sure they will buy. What we see, at least in my experience, so I don't know if it's for the audience as well, if we are an incumbent and we do the job correctly, we win tenders. It doesn't matter if it's public or private. So our win rate at um, clients is higher than at prospects. Why is that? Not specifically because, um, or it is mainly because we know the organization already. We did a great job, and therefore we get the contract awarded again. And that's not because they cannot, because of European public procurement law or whatever. No, it's because you know information, you use the information in your proposal, and therefore they recognize you and they recognize the problem they have themselves as well. So it's about people. Make
Hmm.
sure you know the right people. So, in my opinion, and the one question was, what would you do if there's no marketing department? Make sure to publish every single day on LinkedIn with relevant information. If you're in sales or if you're in tenders, you know what the problems are, you know what the clients are asking you. Make sure that you publish about the relevant topics. And the other one I answered from my opinion, so it's all about my opinion today. So it's not the truth or something; it's just my truth. But for me, public and private, there's no difference besides the fact that RFPs can be influenced easier based on public procurement law, which public companies have to, well, embrace,
Hmm.
and therefore it could be a bit more, let's say it could be a bit of a longer journey, and therefore we say 2 years prior to the publication, make sure you start influencing or informing them.
Yeah. Um, Everyone in the audience, what team in your org owns capture today? Is it in marketing? Is it in sales? Is it in bids? Um, or no one? Maybe it just is whenever something pops up, and then someone raises their hand. Who owns that right now in your organization? Andrew is bids. York says sales and marketing. Frederick says sales. Bid team and sales.
Hmm.
Another one for sales coming in. So your bid teams sit within sales rather than another entity on its own. Sales and marketing department.
Great.
Yeah, it's great to see those because they're
Yeah.
already like working together and doing that
Yeah.
out there as well. Bid,
That's the
sales, and
best answer.
marketing.
Yeah.
I know. Great.
Next slide.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a bit of an open door. I think we mentioned it yesterday as well, Heather.
We
It
did.
roles
Yeah.
and collaboration in capture. Yeah, sales, marketing, bid proposal, capture manager. Most of the organizations I see doesn't have a real capture manager as a role,
Hmm.
and mainly it's sales responsibility. Um, but this speaks for itself, in my opinion. So we have the relationship, signals, and needs. So sales is very important. Visibility and positioning. So sales should definitely interact with marketing to make sure that the positioning uh, online is good. And bid and proposal in increasingly important, in my opinion, to translate the strategy into a compelling message. Because there's a difference, of course, between sales and bid management, in which I always see that bid management is like more a strategic thinker, and therefore it's relevant to add them as well. And the capture manager, yeah, it speaks for itself. If it's
One thing. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
no,
I didn't
go
mean to
go
cut
ahead,
you off, Mark.
Heather. Sorry.
I one thing I've heard a lot about, and I wanted to know what your take on this would be, is that that sometimes there's like a little bit of a disconnect with capture, like between sales and then and the bid team and capture, whoever's owning that. That that maybe the sales is like, yeah, we have a great relationship, we talk all the time, but then the bid team or capture say they may do, but they didn't get the information I needed. They didn't get I still don't have the information I need to do my job. How is it, how have you handled that disconnect in your career?
Yeah, that's something I hear a lot, and it's all about. There are two things for me very important. That's customer relationship management as the tool, so the CRM,
Mm,
and the second thing is automation. Um, the problem in a lot of organization these days is that we believe sales because we didn't register the relevant information. So management is not asking sales to register relevant information, and therefore we always in the discussion about opportunistic and realistic views on specific bids. So what I've done recently for my one of my clients is I built the bid process into CRM. Why did I do that? Is because I wanted to make sure very in a very early stage how sales was interacting with the client. So therefore we created like a strategy part, which we defined with a strategy score. We created a qualification part in which you can do with Altura as well, of course, so the bid no bid,
mm,
and both of them were scored. And the funny thing was, what the strategy score was all about: do we know the customer? How often did we speak? And it was all like quantified information which we could extract and like monitor. And the thing we did is like they got cut on their um, incentive if the data wasn't correct. So therefore, we said, okay, data is that important for our organization, and we would like to be very transparent to everyone, and we would like we see the cost for losing a bit, in which you as Altu are publishing a lot about. Every
mm,
lost bid is like 20K, 30K, 40K, whatever. So therefore, not to blame people, but to make sure we we subscribe to bids we can win, we added it to the CRM. So that's for me automation, and that's the second part. So we added it to the CRM, but you have to help sales as well. So therefore we use automation. And I think it was Wouter who mentioned like the end date of the contract. If you have the end dates, you can easily create a new opportunity 24 months prior to publication. Um, and then make sure that there are tasks added automated as well. So for example, every 3 months you should reach out to your client, and then that's a task, and then they have to register what the result was, for example. And therefore management is constantly checking dashboards. Okay, did they do it? Which tasks are still open? What are the executions, and so on and so forth. um, so that's, of course, you have to support them as well. It's not that sales will do it if you are not supporting them, because then they say, okay, I go drink coffee there, and it's all in my head, and we will be fine because it's a great opportunity. Let's go. um, was that an answer to your question here? It was maybe a
Yeah.
bit long, but
No, 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 it wasn't at all. One something that popped up, Petra was asking. She said her whole organization is led by, and then it's also led by sales and bid, but her whole organization is involved, and that's fantastic. And then she was asking, where's operations in this? How do you think operations sits within this as well?
for incumbents, operations is there always. I would always
Yeah.
say measure your performance at your clients. So there's operations, if she mean that with operations. So I think that's like the department executing the contract. Make sure to measure um, the satisfaction of your client with the operations. And operations is always there because, but operations should log their information in the CRM as well, in my opinion, or
Mm.
somewhere, so sales can use it in their conversations with the client, for example, in a strategic, tactical, or operational um, um,
Conversations that they're having
conversations.
with
Sorry,
them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Great. Okay. We also have a long question from Sam. So, in our small design agency, the designers and project managers have a big role in the process. On the other hand, to write the proposal, to answer the tender questions, but on the other hand, also to have buy-in internally. How and when can they be effectively involved? Also taking into account capture.
So they write a proposal, answer the question, but on the other hand, also to have buy-in internally. Yeah, so they are responsible for all of it.
Yeah, I think
That,
I think Sam, just correct me if you're wrong. Are you saying like where, like when all these things should happen that you're talking about, that you can go through when these should actually be happening? Because you have to get buy-in internally. Are you saying should we do that before we actually start answering the questions, or we do that first? Or if you could just clarify that for us, that'd be great. Wouter says we have a strict three-step qualification process in Altura, and yet sometimes a big tender comes in as a surprise. Is there a situation where you would still participate in a tender if the tender comes in cold?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it is not black or white. So
mm,
once I had like a conversation with a commercial director, and he was very enthusiastic about the fact that he didn't see the tender coming and he won the tender. So,
yeah.
and I can imagine it's
Mm,
great. So we're not like, it's not black or white, it's gray. And as long as we have the data that support us, or let's be honest with each other, and of course there's always other energies flowing into the room, is like big or is the biggest one, but afterwards evaluate why didn't we see that one coming. That's very important.
yeah.
So just go for it.
Great.
Yeah,
Great. Should we jump on to the next
yeah, let's go.
slide?
Yeah, I think we are almost out of time already.
Or yeah, a little bit more.
Hmm. This is a bit of a bold statement, of course. Without capture, many tenders, low win rate, and with capture, less volume, more focus, higher success rate. it is true, and it's hard to get there. But in my opinion, there should be something in the middle. It should be something in the middle. Um, it's not really about volume. It's not really about the high success rate, because you can have a high success rate by participating in nearly no tender as well. If you win one and then you stop, then you have a high success rate as well. It's about focus. Make sure your C level is aligned, that they they really express themselves in the direction they would like to go the next few years with your organization, and then just focus. And it's what I mentioned, it's not really about volume or success rate. It's about being effective, being or putting money and energy into the relevant tenders, and therefore capture is very important.
Yeah, very. Just before we move on, I just was curious because we were talking a lot about AI, and you've been speaking about it in Capture. Those of you in the audience, have you used AI for Capture yet? And if so, what are you using it for? Someone says, so Sarah Lucy is saying you don't use it. We do not use AI. Any reason why you guys aren't using AI? We don't. You're not using it for Capture. Petra said desk research.
Mm.
Another one, generating background.
Hmm.
Jane says she uses it to understand industry trends.
ChatGPT, the question for Jane.
Yeah. Is that ChatGPT, Jane? We use it to fill our pre-qualification tools for desk research again. Background information again, winning strategy, summarize tender documents.
Yeah, nice.
Jane said yes.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is. Yeah. Collecting data about the customer. Petra uses Gemini.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
nice. Great. Yeah. My opinion,
Fantastic.
just use AI,
Hmm.
but never rely on AI. So
Hmm.
use it and just check it again to make sure if it's clear what it mentions as well. Shall we go to the next one?
Sure.
Ah, AI and tools. Yeah, I think most of this is mentioned. Use AI. It's very relevant, and there are so many tools these days you can use um, which you can use in Capture. Some of the topics are mentioned here: competitor analysis, tender forecasting. Yeah, I can mention many specific tools if you want. If you're specifically looking for um, data extraction or something, or a stakeholder management, you can use Clay. Um, if you use, for example, something for LinkedIn, you can use Expandy. So there are many tools these days, and they're popping up every day. There are, I don't know, thousands of tools
Yeah.
published, and it's amazing to see what we can do with it. And it's always good to make sure that you double check what it's mentioning. But use it, just use it, because if you're not using it now, your competitor does. I'm sure about it.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to share here as well is there's it's on Altura's, I think it's on their website. I have the link here. There's an AI readiness tool that we have that kind of shows, I think it was kind of going into what Mark was talking about before, like you may have a lot of unstructured data, but if it's not structured, you can't use it properly in the process. So you can also do that. It's free. It's something that you can look at within your organization to see like if your organization is kind of set up for AI to, like, if you're thinking of making a big move with it, that might help you.
Nice. Let's go to the
Yeah.
next one. I don't know if there are any questions about AI, but
Um, One I got that someone wrote in: what kind of data do you find most useful in shaping capture strategies?
that's a good question. And I did a data management workshop for Altura, I think two years ago. I think the data, I don't know, we should check. Maybe the data is still available via the website of Altura. So I think
I
so. I
see. I
think,
see someone in the back. Yeah, Talia says yes, it is.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So we
Talia,
should
if you could
refer
find
to
that
that.
link and we
Yeah,
can pop it in the chat, and we'll send it in the email too. But
yeah.
if you could summarize a little bit about it here.
Where there's some very obvious information always in the tender. So what I find very interesting is to extract all relevant information like contract end dates. Um, that's the For me it's always the starting point. Contract end date. Wouter mentioned it as well. That's the clear, because you know how long the contract will run, and then can make a renewal already. That's very interesting. We have the requirements list. There's not really a very good tool yet, but extracting requirements and add it to your database to make sure you can improve your roadmap is something I really like, always, because I'm mostly working in IT SaaS, and what's very nice is that you get that large list with like the 400 requirements. You would
Mm,
definitely want to extract them not by hand, but via AI. And we managed to do so. So we are extracting it now, and then we just mention, okay, we can do it or we can't do it. We need to ask a question or not. And if it's not doable at all, then we say roadmap. And that's very nice to add it to your database as well. So it's very valuable information to see, okay, this requirement was asked, for example, 5 times,
mm,
and we are still not able to meet the requirement. We should definitely put it on the roadmap, and very soon as well.
yeah,
So
I
I
see
really
them
like that.
using that a lot in Altura too, within their bid, no bid. When something comes up consistently, we don't have
Yeah,
that certificate. We don't do certain contract terms or all different things that then you can look at that and say, what's it worth changing,
yeah.
So, yeah, that's always good data points, I think, to have. Anything else about data? Um, can you give an example of how AI has helped a capture effort succeed? That's putting
Mm,
you on the spot.
Put me on the spot. Yeah. Well, deep research was mentioned as well.
Mhm.
I always use deep research to get to know my client better, or my prospect, or whatever. Um, but um, for me, that's very relevant. But the most important thing succeeding in capture is your team, to be honest.
Mm,
So um, it's a combination of sales, marketing, and tenders. It's a combination of the tooling you use. So, for example, deep research to get in all the relevant information, but also registering in the relevant tools, extracting it in the relevant data source, and make sure you do something with it in 5 years as well. So, what I mentioned about, and I don't know if that's specifically the answer, but we knew at CM.com in every specific country we were participating, if we were successful, how many no bids, how many we won, um, what the reason was we won or we lost. It was all registered, and it became so valuable for the next one, the next tender coming, that's capture as well, in my opinion.
mm. Yeah, good. I have some other questions here. They're not AI and tool related.
Hmm.
So I'll save those for now, and
Okay.
then we can go through those,
Yeah. Shall we? Yeah.
because I knew this was coming up, and I know there's some people that are. That was one of the questions. Like, fine, but how do I do it?
Yeah. It's all. Yeah, I think that's what I mentioned that as well. We all know what to do,
Yeah.
but not how.
Yeah.
That's always a problem because, and that's the theoretical and the practical part as well. So how do you execute it? And I think I mentioned it as well. Strategy, process, data, technology is like a follow up on each other. Make sure, and hopefully there are some commercial directors, CCOs in this call as well. Make sure you have the commercial strategy in line and the buy-in of your management to execute it. Um, that's something I find the most interesting and the most hard part of being successful in capture. If and that has all to do with focus again. If we don't know what we are focusing on, we try to do all what's on our path, right? So
Mm.
if it's nice or it sounds nice or it looks nice or whatever, they say, okay, let's do it because we don't know where to focus on. So let's go for that
Yeah.
opportunity again. Make sure you have the target markets right, the specific clients, your value proposition, of course, but also the opportunities. So the step zero is the most important. Step one is fill your funnel. It's already a bit more tactical, so you have to do some steps to make sure that you operational will be fine. Um, Forecast standard data signals, but tender data, for example, if you don't have the right tool, so it's not really about tools maybe, but tender data, where do we save tender data? And what do we
Mm.
do with the tender data? I find it very strange that most of the organizations say, okay, we have a publication again, let's go. And for the rest, we do not even evaluate the result,
Mm.
even won or lost. They don't care. Let's go for the next one. So it's very important to think of data and not really we need tender data, but also where do we um, measure it. Signals and business development. So step one feels a bit like sales for me. And you should definitely use CRM as well and Altura for specific tenders. But I always talk about sales and not specifically about tenders, but also about regular proposals. So
Mm.
therefore you need another tool as well. And step two, develop account specific capture plans with sales, marketing, and bid teams. Yeah, I really like the fact always that you have an accountability as sales. An accountability is that you grow um, turnover or margin or whatever, but make sure that you have account specific plans. And so I find it very relevant for every year, the start of every year, that we have a clear accountability towards sales or capture manager, and to make sure that we have a specific plan to focus on for that year or maybe the year after. But the plan of your the capture plan should be in line with your commercial strategy. So then again, step zero is where it lacks most of the time and where we should definitely ask our management to focus on and to align with. Yeah.
Great. We're coming up on time. So, should we look and see? I think we have a
Yeah.
couple. I want to show people how they can get in touch with you as well. So, if they have any more questions. So here it is. This Mark and Let's Connect. You can't click on that. So Mark's LinkedIn. We're gonna after this, we're finished today in just a few minutes. This afternoon, you'll get Mark's contact information. If you have any follow-up questions, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them. You can also
Always.
reach out to me as well about any questions you may have about getting AI up and running in your business. And you'll also get the links that we shared today within the chat. So you'll have everything all in one place, and I'll make sure to share Mark's LinkedIn profile too. So you'll have all those links in a tidy little email for you later on. I'd like to say thank you so much, Mark, for coming and joining us and sharing all your knowledge with us. It was really interesting. I
You're
especially love
welcome.
how you stress bringing marketing into the process. And I think that's a unique view I've heard within Capture. So I was really excited to have you on today.
You're welcome, Heather. Nice to be here.
It was great. And everyone else, have a great Tuesday. And if you're watching later on, hope you're having a great day, whichever one it is. So we'll talk to you later and see you next time. It was great seeing everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.